Hey everyone, it's Angie Barton from the Nishnawbe-Gamik Friendship Center. I know I'm not a face that you would generally recognize since I'm usually hiding out in administration, but today I thought that you guys might like to bake a pie with me. So let's head over to my kitchen and get going. So now that we've cleaned our workspace, we've set aside our ingredients, what we're going to need today for our pie crust, and I've already measured it out here, is 2 cups of flour, 1 1/3 cups of shortening. I've used tender flake today, but you can use your choice. 2/3 cup of water, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. I've just got it in that little black container there. So that's what we're using. Let's go ahead. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our salt and our water, and we're just gonna mix the two. Just got some spoons here on the side. Just gonna stir up. Let that salt dissolve in that water and set her aside. We'll use that later. Next thing I do is I go ahead and put all of that flour out. And I get my baker's knife, but really you can use any knife or a couple of forks or anything to just what they call cut in your shortening. So here we've got our shortening. I'm just going to take a little bit of it, toss it around in my dough, break her on up. I guess it's not dough yet. It'll be though. So now we're going to take our baker's knife and we're just going to literally cut that in. Our goal here is to just get little pea-sized flakes of fat. It's the best part of a homemade dough, and making it so flaky is the magic ingredient of lard or shortening, whatever you want to call it. So we'll just heat that up. As you see, as I keep going, those little fat pieces are getting a little bit smaller, but we don't want to over-mix this or mix it quickly, because the secret here is actually keeping those little shortening bits intact. We want to find them in about the size of a pea or a hazelnut when we're all done. So now that's a little bit smaller and a little bit worked in, I like to make a little flour volcano. Just a little empty spot in the middle. And we'll take our water and just pour it right in. You don't have to do all of it. In case you're worried about overdoing it, you can just do it a little bit at a time. And we'll take it and we'll cut it in. And the more and more you do this, the more it's going to start looking like a dough. Okay, so we'll take some more water. This is definitely what we want this to start looking like. Okay. The rest of the water. You can also do this in a food processor, but I find you don't have the control over it, and it turns more mealy than flaky because the shortening gets too small, but you always do whatever works best for you. All right, now I know it doesn't look like it's gonna hold together, but really it is. You want it to fall apart like this, because that's how you know it's gonna be flaky and fall apart in your mouth when you bake it. You can smush it together and it holds some texture, but it still falls apart like a flaky pie crust. So what we're gonna do now, that the crust is all incorporated, we're just gonna take some Glad wrap, or you can use a freezer bag or anything that you have that will fix. That will do it. We're gonna wrap her up, and we're gonna put it in the fridge. Now, because the flour and the water have been incorporated, they need to sit for a while for the gluten to set properly. So that's why we do this. If you were to use this pie crust right away, it wouldn't work as well as if you refrigerated it. So that's what we're gonna do now. Wrap her up nice and good. I'm gonna set that in the refrigerator for about an hour. So we'll come back in an hour when she's ready to go. We'll roll out our pie crust and we'll look at doing a fruit filling as well. See you later. All right, so while our dough is chilling in the fridge, now is a good time to start working on the filling for our pie. So here I have our pre-measured ingredients. I've got 4 cups of frozen fruit. You can use any fruit you want, your choice. I've used strawberry and rhubarb today because personally that's my favorite. I actually haven't done it before, but hey, it's gonna be good. I also have 1 cup of sugar and 4 tablespoons of cornstarch. On the side here, not exactly measured out, but just in a cup ready to go. I've got some water in case my filling becomes a little too thick and I want to thin it out. So this is just used on your personal discretion. So let's move these ingredients on over to the stove and get started on the filling. You can see here that I've got a medium pot and a silicone spatula, which is my preference for stirring things while I cook. So I've got my frozen fruit here. I'm just gonna turn my my element to a medium heat. Add all of my fruit into there. And I'm gonna take this lid here and cover it and just let it sit on the heat until all of the natural juices from the fruit come out, which we'll use as the base. For that, I'm just going to take my cornstarch here and I'm going to add it to my sugar. So now I'm just going to mix up my dry ingredients here to add later, so they're all incorporated together. So it's probably been about 10 minutes. I'm checking on the thing, and you can see that there's a nice juice forming in the bottom there. Some of the fruit still has frost on it, so you can tell that it can go for a little while yet. All right, we've left it just a couple more minutes, and you can see the whole mess there is boiling, and looks like it's going well. So I'm just going to turn off the heat so as not to overheat it too much. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add the entire mixture of sugar and cornstarch that I made and just continuously stir. And it's really important here that you continuously stir and don't let it sit. Now, rhubarb is a very, very, I guess, wet vegetable or fruit. I'm not sure what it is. So it's probably going to take me longer than it would, say, if you were using cherries or possibly blueberries. Those ones will thicken up a little faster. So with cornstarch, you don't want to add too much if you're going along the way. So here I just have a half of a teaspoon, and I'm just going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon, a little heapy. And that's it. And go ahead and stir that in. And keep an eye on what it does. And if I need more, then I can add more. But it's a lot harder to take out. Now the reason why we mixed it with the sugar earlier is you'll notice when you add the cornstarch directly to the pie filling, you get little lumps like these. You can go ahead and stir them out if you give it a good hearty stir, you'll be able to get the lumps out. But that's the reason why we added it to the sugar in the beginning, is because it just helps it incorporate better into the filling without getting those little lumps like you do in gravy sometimes. But this is definitely starting to thicken. So as I pull it away from the pot, it takes its time filling that hole, and that's how you know when it's starting to thicken. Awesome. Okay, so I'm pleased with how that is looking. So I'm just going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to move it to the back burner here so it's not pulling any additional heat off of this while it cools down. And we're going to go to rolling out our pie. All right, so here's our wrapped up pie dough. And now we're just going to roll it out. We're going to need two pieces, one for the top part of the pie and one for the bottom part of the pie. So I'm just going to cut her in half. Put one aside for the top part of the pie, and I'm just going to grab a rolling pin, roll out my base. So I like to roll out a little bit of flour onto my workspace, but in this case you don't want to use a lot because you've already got the right amount of flour in your crust, and if you add more you're going to be throwing off your balance and overworking your dough. So we just want to roll her out into a circle that will fit that pie plate. Now people try and make their pie dough look pretty when they roll it. That's not necessary. We just need it to fit to the right size of the plate, and then we can trim the edges at that point in time. Bring it right up over the lip. So I just have a butter knife here, and I'm just gonna trim around the plate to get a nice clean edge. All the extras for our top half. You can do your top in any multiple ways. You can just do a solid top with a hole cut in it. You can do a lattice top. Cut little snowmen out and make it Christmas themed. You can do whatever you want with the top of your dough. The main thing is that you make sure that your top dough has a venting cut out into it. If there isn't a place for the air to escape through the top of the dough, it's gonna bubble up and it's gonna not cook properly and not cut properly. So while we've been doing this, our filling is cooling over there on the stove. We'll bring that on over and fill our pie. So we can't put our top on until the filling is in the pie. Let's just pour her in this way. I don't need another something to do it with. I hope this angle's okay. I can't see the shot myself. Oh, look at that. Yum, yum, yum. I'll spread her out. Strawberry rhubarb filling. I don't think I could be happier with that. All right. Okay. Rolled it over onto the pie. Get a sharper knife to cut the venting hole out, just because I think it'll be easier. I'm just using my fork to make that crimped edge look on the pie, and it helps seal the crust. also like to put little slits in it. So let's just put some little slits in it. Makes it look pretty. Some long ones, north, east, west, and south. Okay, so we've cut the venting in our pie, and now we need to put it into the oven. I've set it for 375, and I'm just gonna stuff her in here for 50 minutes. That's 50. Setting the timer. Hi everyone, it's been 50 minutes now and my oven timer has just gone off, so I've got my handy dandy oven mitts here and I'm gonna pull her out of the oven. Let's see how she looks. Oh, that's a good looking pie. I can't see out my glasses. And that's the pie. I overfilled it just a little bit, so you can see here that it's broken through the top, but that's okay. And the crust is nice and golden, and you can see that it's nice and flaky. And we just need to let that cool, and we can serve it up. I'm looking forward to trying this out. Yum. So our pie is cooled now for probably a few hours, and you can touch it all over. It's very cool to the touch, so I'm thinking it should be good to go to cut our first slice. I've got pie crust all over the place here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and slice her in half. It's cut very nicely. Look at how flaky that is. It's just coming right off. And pie piece number 1. And then super huge pie piece number 2, because I was bad at cutting that. Oh, it smells really good. All right, so that's how you make a homemade pie, crust filling and all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great day.